Halo Infinite's Battle Royale type mode named Tatanka has been data mined in the last 24 to 48 hours, and we've got like every bit of information about the mode. In this video, we're going to discuss everything that has been data mined and everything that this mode will essentially have within it, how it will work, what will happen when you drop into the map, how you drop into the map, and how to loot and some of the things you can do on the map. A lot really has been mined about this mode, a lot more than I ever thought would be until the release. But for those that want to see and hear exactly what this mode is all about and to get you excited for this mode, stick around, it's a very interesting one. I want you guys to drop a comment down below after you've listened to what this mode is all about, and do you really think this will bring the player base back to Halo Infinite? If not, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, but without further ado, let's dive straight in. So, starting off, the president of certain Affinity himself has came out and announced that there's a Halo Infinite project that hasn't yet been announced, that's been in the work for a couple of years now, which has over 100 developers directly focused on this one particular project. This is Tatanka, essentially. This is Tatanka, and this is them acknowledging that this mode is in the works. So let's have a read of what the president has said, and then we'll dive into some of the details. For more than 2 years now, we've been working on Halo Infinite, doing something that they're very prescriptive around what they can say about this mode, and that is very secretive. But we're doing something unannounced, and we're doing lead development on that unannounced thing, from the conception and the design. It's something very big and new for the franchise, but I can't say anything more about it as of now. That's our single largest project of our 3 projects currently. We have close to 100 developers working on it. Now, reading in through the lines there, they have 3 projects ongoing. Is this potentially all 3 of them Halo Infinite related? Could one of them just be this Tatanka and the other 2 be separate games or separate projects not relating to Halo? Or could they be focusing also on other things? So could they be the sole studio focusing on the likes of campaign DLC, for example, alongside Joe Staten and the team that he's working with as well? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. If anyone does know, it'd be interesting to find out about that. But I thought this statement was something interesting to cover before we got into the nitty-gritty parts. Now, on to some of the actual leaks for Tatanka. This is a lot of information, and it's actually been data mined by the likes of Bathrobe Spartan, who has been at the forefront of data mining and getting information from the code of the game that a lot of people haven't been able to do. So Bathrobe Spartan, all the links will be down there in the description, so go check it out. But here we go. Modes available for Tanka. We've got free-for-all, duos, trios, and squads. Those modes, while available, probably won't all launch together, but they're available as separated playlists or selections for 343 industries to use whenever they like. Where does Tatanka take place? In our Bathrobe Spartan podcast, we discussed that there's a dedicated map for this mode. It's taking place on the ring, probably some part of Zeta Halo, and so far, there's only one map available for this mode. So, some part of Zeta Halo, whether it be the entirety of the map, I would probably say that the entirety of the map should be reused, right? That'd be pretty pointless just half of it being used. So yeah, maybe we'll have the full Zeta Halo to explore on Tatanka. That would be really, really cool as well. How many people can play in a Tatanka game? It's currently up to around 60 players, which is what was in the game files. Previous leaks shared that this could be up to 100 players, but it was mostly for stress testing with the map, with several bots roaming around as well. This part is still available in the code, but this was just for testing purposes, and the final decision at this stage of the files were updated to cap the number of players to 60, like Apex Legends. So, how does a Tatanka game actually play out when you spawn in and you exfil? Drop pods, the ones used in ODST, are mentioned as the way to drop into the map, so essentially what we initially thought, to be honest. It seems that the game would allow the option to drop in a place selected directly without you having to control the drop pod itself. Can't say if it will be first or third person perspective. I would say it has to be first, right, to go with the ODST sort of look. I mean, that would be the correct thing to do in my opinion, but how you would control the drop pod, I'll have to wait and see. Once landed, you only have a single weapon. Apparently a very basic one that's just so you can progress through. I would imagine it'd be some form of like the sidekick or something like that. But that also confirms tiered loot is in Tatanka as well. There doesn't seem to be any loot on the ground, or at least not high tier loot. You will find things like ammo caches on the ground, like you could during the campaign just to refill your ammo. There are several points of interest around this map as well, and those aren't just locations like other BR games, but objectives to reach and achieve so that you can gain points and unlock new weapon tiers and things like that. Really similar to what Halo 5's Warzone does, where essentially you had to capture bases and kill AI bosses to get points and unlock new tiers. In the code, we found several types of objectives. Some of them are similar to the likes of the contracts from Call of Duty Warzone, such as capture and control a base or a zone, oddball, keep an objective with yourself for a certain amount of time, or a supply run, bring an element to Point Alpha, then Bravo so you can unlock the loot. Whilst doing these objectives, players around the area are notified of these, probably to incentivize players to meet and fight against each other in central locations before the Tempest begins to close. The Tempest being probably the circle or the zone which will come around the outside. Completing these objectives and eliminating other players, we guess, will grant you points that will be able to be spent in these different buy stations similar to COD Warzone, where you can select things like weapons, vehicles that you want to use against other players, similar to how you were doing in Halo 5's Warzone. Completing these objectives will also grant you a special key, a containment key we think is the name, and you will need 4 of them to access very high tier loot caches. We think it's made so you don't just camp in the zone you captured, and so it pushes you against other players to get their keys and have all the chances to unlock brutally destructive loot. So how do you move around the map? As said, once you get points, you'll be able to order vehicles similar to the way that we're doing from the FOBs during the campaign. Of course, you can do that on foot, but a vehicle is always nice, I guess. Vehicles we found were mostly cooperative vehicles, such as the Warthog, the Mongoose, and the Razorback, and also included several mentions to a long time gone vehicle that we all loved, the Falcon, which was leaked and shown and data mined in the game files. We don't know if this was a placeholder or something left from an early version of the game or the mode, but since the Falcon wasn't in Halo 4 and Halo 5, we doubt it was left over, and therefore it was probably intentional that they mentioned it in the code. We didn't find any mention of the Banshee, and the Ghost wasn't explicitly mentioned either. So, the respawn system. There were several mentions of different respawn systems. One is based around your Spartan being downed, similar to what you can have in the mode Attrition, where you have to stand close and get your friend back on their feet by just reviving them. We don't know if they'll use the same sort of rounded ball like in Attrition or downed animation like in Halo 5, so we'll have to wait and see. The second one is a real respawn system if you happen to be eliminated completely from the map. You would have to go to certain locations like essentially the respawn locations on Warzone from a buy station, or on Fortnite or Apex where you have to go to the actual respawn stations or buses or whatever they might be to physically revive your teammates. Once you've revived them, they will drop into the map either from a ship like in Apex Legends or thanks to an additional drop pod that you spawned in on. How does Tatanka end? Like other Battle Royale games, the Circle, or the Tempest in Tatanka's case, will be closing in more and more as the game progresses, forcing different groups around the map of PvP players to reunite and to combat each other. Once you then win the game, you have a stance system at the end, similar to the one you have after the general PvP games, or at the end of the multiplayer games where all the Spartans and the teams will just be together. I don't think there'll be any exfil. I think it will just be a case of it goes to that stance and then the game will be finished, and then you just start all over again. So, a couple of other elements that were data mined and found by Bathrobe Spartan. The tactical map from the campaign should be back for Tatanka, showing you a 3D representation of the map with elevation. You'll be able to put a waypoint on the map which will be visible to all of your teammates. The ping system could be improved, but we didn't find much. Random events can happen on the map as well, and these events can be displayed to all players so they can go to them. So I presume this could be the likes of airdrops, or maybe even strikes, or the Mac cannons could go off, something like that. We'll have to wait and see, but it does sound very cool. The DMR was also mentioned as a weapon, but we don't know if they're talking about the real DMR or if it was a code name for the commando. Variations of weapons found in the campaign should be available for the very high tier loot that I mentioned, possibly unlocked once you get several keys that are needed to unlock that. You might be able to upgrade your weapons as well, but we don't know how. It was just mentioned in there. Maybe it's from the buy stations when you've unlocked the keys. You select the weapon that you want with your points. It's not a linear path like Last Spartan Standing. A backpack is mentioned, but we don't know if it's an inventory system or if it's something additional. It might be like Apex, where you have like an inventory which you could sort your things out. The radar and combat sensor is nowhere to be found in this mode, exactly like in Last Spartan Standing. Now, just to summarize things, All the things that was found by Bathrobe Spartan made us believe that certain Affinity and 343 Industries are creating a different kind of Battle Royale game. Whilst it's still going to be a top 1, you seem to have much more control about the loot and how you obtain it. Basically, you're playing classic game modes, control a zone, bring an objective to this point, etc., of Halo within a giant map. It's not about eliminating players to get their loot. It's about playing the objectives to increase your loot and the control you have over it. It seems to be done in this way so you rely less on RNG and luck and get your loadouts that way, but more on tactical decisions and strategy. In the end, they're bringing Halo classic gameplay to a Battle Royale, rather than just injecting Halo into the Battle Royale scene just willy-nilly and basically following a trend. They're doing this with very straightforward FPS gameplay without too many worries around the resource management and such. Overall, I'm very excited for Tatanka. I think this will be the game mode which attracts the most people back. I think Forge will be doing a good job of it, just to bring some of the older school Halo fans back. But Tatanka's really what is going to be bringing people from the likes of Apex, Fortnite, Warzone over to try this new mode out. So this mode needs to kick ass. It needs to be the main priority right now for 343 and for a certain Affinity. And they need to get this out early next year. Maybe it will come around season 3 next year, maybe it'll be announced around that time, and you never know. This mode could have been the reason why season 3 was pushed back. Everyone needs to think about that alternative as well. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Leave a like if you have, it'd be very much appreciated, and let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Tatanka so far. What do you think about what you've heard today? Do you think it will be good? Do you think it will save Halo, bring the community or player base back up? If Cyberpunk can do it, I'm certain Halo Infinite can do it as well. But guys, hope you've enjoyed today. Leave a like as I mentioned. Subscribe if you guys are brand new. And we'll see you all in the next one.